So Joe Falaschi, I've been with E-vergent. We started doing dial-up, and in '95 we started doing wireless in 2001, and we have about 3,000 subs now. Our network is generally in the Milwaukee, Chicago area, the rural areas between Milwaukee and Chicago. In our WISP, at this point, we started with Cambium. Through the years, we've acquired a lot of everything, it seems, but primarily we use Cambium and Ubiquity radios. The graphing, we've always wanted graphs of traffic, but it's always been a weak spot for us. And so for monitoring, we use Nagios, and for graphing, mostly on the access point level, router level, things like that, we use Libra NMS. We're integrated with Preseem via the API integration that BillMax has. I think they have integrations with a lot of the major billing platforms for our space, though. We have been at this for a while, and we had been looking at DPI solutions kind of on the sidelines. Never actually deployed any of those solutions, but we're intrigued by them and wanted to, knew what we were doing. We wanted to do something else. So we were using the shapers in the radios since very early on. We weren't using MikroTik shapers at all. But so that we had a little bit of a disconnect from the billing system, what the plan was set to in billing to how the radio was set at the customer. It was all a manual process. And so that was one big thing that the Preseem project, had us kind of clean up and fix, was linking those two systems. And we found quite a bit of bad data between that, and people would try to upgrade somebody for the weekend and it would never get, flipped back and stuff. And so that's been a good thing of having everything connected. And, the guys at Preseem have been very responsive and helpful with the implementation. And that was another big reason why we didn't do anything with one of the major DPI vendors, was making that link between our billing system and our network was going to be extremely costly. And they were able to work with us to get it done for, as part of the normal offering versus a 5-figure sum. So some of the ways that it's helped us was that it gives us data that we really didn't have. In some cases, so we would take a support call and they would say, my connection is slow, we're not, what's going on, kind of a thing. Then we'd look at the modulation levels and say, everything seems fine, there's no real problems. And, so what gives, kind of a thing. And so just having that data, real time and historical, these graphs update in, I think, 10-second intervals, so we can see what's happening 2 months ago or what's happening, 30 seconds ago. And so having the support staff be able to see that information and say, it's not really slow, it's that somebody is doing something, or somebody was doing something on Saturday, it's now Monday, we should run this test again, kind of a thing. And so just having that data and graphs of every single customer at a high resolution has helped our support calls be a lot less, filled with a lot less friction. It's also helped us with access points, like knowing when they're busy. We would make assumptions, say, this access point should be able to do 50 meg, 60, 80, 100, like what can it really do? And so you'd look at it and guess. Now we can see specifically when latency is going up, retransmissions are going up. We have hard data to be able to say there is an issue here. And then maybe we find somebody with a really weak power level. We can go, do a service call, fix that, and then see that or change the channel or whatever. We can make changes, and then we have the data to be able to back it up to say the problem was fixed, or the problem, still is existing and we need to do something. So I guess kind of going in with that, the data to be able to, like, we run a lot of like bypass speed tests, bypass your router, do a speed test type of a thing. Now we can know if the router has actually been bypassed, if like the traffic goes to zero kind of a thing. And so I would say this is all public. You could look at our Google and Facebook reviews. You know, I think we're definitely on an upward trend, and a lot of that has been to the microscope that Preseem has been able to kind of give us of our network versus it being much more of like a black box. So like I was saying, like previously we were using the rate limits in the Ubiquiti and Cambium radios. We thought they were working perfectly fine. We had no real reason to believe that, you know, we didn't know what we didn't know. So they would limit the speed, and, you know, from a basic level, that's all we really expected. After there was that graph previously that Garrett had shown, and things just work better now. You know, if you do max out your connection, you know, it seems a little bit snappier. It's hard to really explain or believe that it isn't just magic kind of a thing, but it does have a real impact on the end user customer experience. Going back to just how our support team uses the platform, this was very early on. We had it implemented, we took it out, and our support staff was just that they felt like we took something away, that, you know, they were just not sure how to progress calls with customers because they didn't have the data to say. It was all just back to kind of guesswork. And so I guess at the end of the day, it all comes down to, does stuff work better? And so part of this is that it's working, the algorithm is working better, and also that we're able to more accurately and more quickly fix issues. But this graph here is showing just our historical cancellations and new customer adds and the churn. And so I'm not sure, Garrett, if you have anything you want to bring up on this slide, but these seem, I forget the exact percentages, or it says 26%, but this was all like less than 1% or within 2%. I think it was a pretty small number, but you know, small numbers can mean big things as well. And so
yeah, basically when we analyzed the data, and Joe graciously shared everything with us, which was super helpful for us to see as well, to analyze all that. I think in 2016 on the left, it was pretty obvious that churn was 1.5% or so, give or take a few points, and things seemed fairly steady. And then like the last year, churn has come down from like 1.5 down to 1, whatever 20% works out to. And all of a sudden, there's quite a bit of growth again in the numbers, where it used to be that churn and new customer adds were pretty similar. Now churn's come down, new customer adds have stayed the same or gone up, resulting in quite a few extra subscribers that wouldn't have been there otherwise. It's fairly obvious as we dug into all that.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just, it was, you know, we were always working within 1 to 2% kind of a thing, but that 28% has, you know, obviously made a significant difference in the bottom line.